All right, welcome back. ElinePodcast.live. Hello, everybody. It's Mark Rose again. We have Ellie, and we have a special guest, Brian Baez. How are you?
I'm well. How are y'all?
Pretty good, pretty good. Today's going to be really cool because we're going to talk about some current events, what's going on in the world. Brian will let you kind of inform us on who you are. But before that, how's everybody today?
I'm chilling. I'm having a good day. I think we're having a good day in terms of politics and in terms of content creating on this side. Just yesterday we had a lot going on with like the Donald Trump fraud case in New York. And today we have the historic vote to remove Kevin McCarthy from the House of Representatives, which is historic because it obviously never has happened before. So in terms of the content creating side, in terms of the political mind side, I think we're in a good place, and I'm just feeling good.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Ellie, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a long but good day. Just busy, getting stuff ready, editing, exercising, taking time out to myself to be in my mental, go to the park for a while, and
I
laundry.
went to the park today too after I worked. I went to have some solitude and nature time. It was really good. But okay, so Brian, like tell us about you. So I know you had the Mentally Divine podcast. You're like a political commentator. Like just like talk to the people. Who are you? What do you do?
That's a really good question. So my name is Brian. I created this Mentally Divine kind of, I don't want to say persona, but brand. I'll say the brand. The Mentally Divine brand was created um, in February of like 2022 or 2021. Some people said 2021, but I didn't feel like it's that long. Anyway, I've kind of always known that I wanted to be in media. I always knew that I wanted to do like podcasting. I had a podcast in college that really didn't go anywhere. I didn't have the vision. I didn't have the people around me. I didn't have the team. But I always knew that I always wanted to be in front of the camera. And so time went on. Again, February 22, I will say, I started using Twitter Spaces as a means of communicating with people and creating a small community. That was kind of the way to combat Clubhouse, because Clubhouse was also big for people who know Clubhouse. And they were after their beta testing in Twitter at that point. And I started seeing how people were using it, right? To like get to know people across the country, across the world. I mean, there was people from different parts of the world, right, on there. And people were just connecting. And I was like, I can do this and I can use this to not only build a small community, but also go bigger and to do a show and to maybe get into podcasting. And so it started off really grassroots where we were able to have conversations about mental health and like, how are you doing? What's up? What's going on for people who I just didn't even know. Right. And then slowly but surely, it created a community of people who were coming together to kind of divulge things that they've never talked about in their life. Right. Especially to other people. We've had many stories be shared, and for their privacy, I won't like obviously say any names, but people will talk about their stories with relationships, um, sexual assault trauma, right? Suicidal ideation, things that they've never experienced or never told anybody in their immediate circles, but were comfortable to come into spaces with people they didn't even know to have those conversations. And so from there, we started building off of that platform and really started getting people who were doctors, infectious disease experts, because that was at the time of the pandemic, right? Middle of the pandemic. And we talked about masking, we talked about vaccines and combating misinformation and disinformation. And then we also opened it up to like organized religion versus spirituality. And the entire concept was creating a platform for people who are Black, Latino, LGBTQIA plus, maybe first gen in their family to kind of break curses, right? Generational curses. To come together and have a conversation about things that are substantive, right? Because we have something more to say about things that are substantive. And so that's how it kind of was really born. And after a while, got to the place where I'm at now.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great to hear. I like seeing you online and all of the clips that you post in terms of like your perspective on like what's going on. I feel like it definitely takes somebody who has like a lot of empathy for like the human experience and what's going on to really just make the content that you do. So I definitely want to give you your flowers on that, and thank you for spreading that awareness, because I feel like a lot of us need to hear that, those type of things. So like what would you say is like your purpose when it comes like to that, kind of on the lines of that?
Yeah. But the purpose really evolved. Like in the very beginning, the purpose was to connect with Gen Z voters. Well, no, before that, before me getting into the politics, the purpose was just to continue to build community with people who I didn't even know, right? And create these safe spaces that allowed people to just thrive and be themselves, and to be heard. Again, we look at social media, we look at reality television, we look at all these places, and there's a dearth, right? There's a lack of content that shows people in our communities like to be substantive, right? You look on VH1, you see people fighting, oh, you fight taking my man, this, that, the third, right? You see that. You see just all this craziness, right? And I was like, let's bridge the gap and let's show that we can talk about things that are substantive. And then like things really started blowing up because like I just was being on my couch. We had the elections coming up here in Georgia for the governorship. And I just really liked Stacey Abrams and what she stood for. And I remember watching, because I'm a nerd like that, I was watching the debate with Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp, but that was the first one when they first went at it in 2018. And literally there was just 1 minute of a clip where she's going at him, right? Like just tearing his ass up. And I literally screen recorded it and put it online on Twitter. And I was like, Stacey Abrams tore Brian Kemp's ass up, and that shit went 15 million views, right? Like MSNBC took it, Shade Room, all of these fucking blog posts, everybody started reporting, everybody started talking about it. And I reached out to Stacey Abrams directly, and I was like, I want to work with you, like, and anything that I could do to get you elected, like, I want to do that. And she reached out and she was like, let's connect you with my team. That was at the time where I was also getting invited by Fox Soul to be on TV. I got invited by SiriusXM Urban View Radio to be on the Karen Hunter show. Nonprofit organizations were reaching out to try to get me to get people motivated and galvanized to go vote. So there was just a lot of things popping off, right? And so everything just grew so fast. I'm trying to remember what your question was.
I think you answered it. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What do you think? I just wanted to hear your opinion and thoughts on what it means to be first generation breaking generational curses.
Yeah, I mean, and so that I just remembered it was the purpose question. But yeah, I mean, going to the question of generational curses. So I'm the first generation in my family to go to college. And get my bachelor's and master's. And so I think that was something that was very big. I'm also a parentified child, being someone who grew up in the hood of Newark, New Jersey, Essex County, Brick City, all day, every day. I like, for me, being in a space where I had to be an emotional adult, a spiritual kind of adult at a young age, and I don't feel like I actually had a lot of my child. Like I don't think I had a lot of a childhood. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? Like there was a lot of emotional and financial burden that I had to take on. Like I just remember being in middle school, helping my mom and her friends, and she wasn't even able to finish, but like doing like college level work, right? Because she needed it for like credits. And she didn't finish. But like I remember reading Oedipus the King at the kitchen table, right? I remember like being the person in high school to really take over the finances of the house, right? Do my own FAFSA and stuff, right? And so like there's a lot of things that people can relate to, but like being the person that's the first in your family to like overcome all of that, there's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of, I mean, hell, when my mom was pregnant with me, she would go to this card reader, and the card reader told her, the one that you have in the womb right now, he's going to take you out of poverty. And it's just like,
it was so beautiful.
But to this day, she won't let me live that shit down. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there was a high expectation and high bar for me to meet. And I think that while it's beautiful, and I would agree with you, I think the other part to it is that there comes a high expectation and a high level of got to meet that shit, right? That pressure that starts to build. And so I think, to be honest with you, I would attribute that to a lot of where my trauma is now. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, do you want kids? And I'm like, not really, because I feel like I already was a caretaker. Like, the responsibilities of being right? Like, the responsibilities of being a caretaker is crazy. And it's so large. So yeah, there's a lot to say there. But what is your perspective? Because, like, I feel like you also.
I've had a lot of, it wasn't so much, I was the baby, but my brother went through more so what you went through. But I emotionally grew up with my mom. So she's like kind of like my sister, like older sis that always gives good advice. But, you know, I help, you know, I'm there for my mother and I'm supportive to her and I help take care of her too. So but it's something like I feel like it's just a part of it's just part of my story, my journey. Like, she was a single parent mother and she did the best that she could with what she had, you know? So like, I've been through so much therapy since COVID. Like, I've been in therapy since, on and off, this past year. Actually, not much at all this year, because I'm in a good like routine of self-discipline and just keeping myself in a good headspace with that, and not slipping to the trauma and slipping to, you know, I've been through, you know, a lot of more trauma my trauma mainly came from high school and college, dealing with my peers, because I wasn't ever accepted. I was always the outcast. My sexuality, I didn't know this until recently. Like, it dawned on me, I was asexual growing up, technically, because I didn't do anything until my 20s. And like, because I wasn't interested, I was so driven towards doing music and painting and just doing everything I wanted to be a creative, the ultimate creative. And I was so, that sex didn't even come to mind. It was like a very weird thing. So me being able to look back on like that era of my life puts me in a place to be very grateful for where I am right now. And I think right now I gotta give the empathy and to her, because like she did what she had to do, what she could. And you know, just like I think your mom did and Mark's mom, everyone comes with faults, you know. But I agree with you when it comes to the extra pressure, and like it kind of takes away from the childhood, because there were times where, you know, I had to be an adult instead of a child. And that really, it took, you know, it takes, but in the long haul, if you think about it, you wouldn't be who you are. Maybe you may be further, but I think you wouldn't be who you are right now as the independent content creator that you are if some of those things didn't happen to build you up to be the man that you are today. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, you're of high value, and you know, we're making things of high value content to help the masses. So it's a journey. It's just such a journey. You just got to take what comes with it. And I'm stopping the good and bad, you know? It's trial and error. It's just what it is. It's just we can't control anything, you know? Like, life is what it is. So it's just kind of hopefully my whole thing right now is keep, you know, financial stability and find my special person. That's it. Like, I'm good with everything else. I'm doing what I love with my best friend. So that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not all the other shit is for the birds, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Because that affects our reality. It affects our, you know, I do want to know, when it comes to policies, when you talk about them, what's going to affect us that, you know, could affect us, like, in a sense of like our daily lives coming up? What's been passed? Is there anything been passed, or anything that's going to, like, I mean, we're already in so much inflation. $100,000 that should be like freaking $10 is costing 200,000, $500,000, just based on inflation. And it's going to keep happening because these these owners are greedy as hell. And, you know, I'm in a box and I'm paying $1,000, you know, so it's like, this should not be $1,000. Okay. The amenities are not the best here.
Not the box.
It is. I'm grateful for my box, but yeah.
I mean, so inflation is a big topic for a lot of people, and I think two things. I think number one, inflation was exacerbated by the pandemic, right? And I think we've gotten a lot of that under control, because I think a lot of people be like, well, the pandemic's over, right? But there were a lot of supply chain issues that happened because of the pandemic, a lot of warehouses that had to close down, a lot of things that were outside of the control of what domestic policy can actually take care of, right? And I think that after that, we saw a little bit of some of the prices come down. Like I remember, like just for instance, for me, I bought, because we were in the pandemic, I bought a PS5 during, for anybody who's a gamer, I bought a PS5 during the pandemic, and I paid $1,000 for it. Like, and I was cool with dropping the ban because I'm like, I'm gonna be in the fucking house, and I was cool with it because I'm like, it is gonna be what it's gonna be. Literally, I think after things got under control and there was the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed, obviously by the Democrats, what ended up happening was I look back and it cost like $400, $300, right? The PS5, right? So a lot of those supply chain issues started like to really die down. I think the other thing was because there was all of this unknown of like what is causing this inflation. As we know, Republican political operatives took the opportunity to capitalize, right? And so they started to make it a talking point, and they started to create more misinformation and disinformation around it, and started putting things like, oh, well, eggs are $7, $10 a carton, even though maybe eggs were well, let's say, I'm just putting a number out there, like $6 or $4, it was coming down. They started taking it to the upteenth extreme. And so people started thinking, well, okay, if they're saying this, then other people in different states must feel it, right? And so there was a lot of disinformation and misinformation during that time period, and there still is. And I think one of the biggest things that, if I go back to your question, the biggest issue really is misinformation. That is really the biggest thing. And I think a lot of people are like, well, how does that directly impact me? Well, it directly impacts you because Republicans do a really good job of messaging, but they also do a really good job of making sure that we don't know what the truth is. They bank on people who are ignorant to the facts. Again, not stupid, ignorant to the facts. Just maybe they don't know, or maybe they don't have time to read past the damn headline, right? And so they bank on the fact that people don't know, so they can say whatever the fuck they want. I don't know. Can I curse in here?
Yeah.
Okay. But so they can say whatever the fuck they want. And then at the end of the day, it's not true. Right. And so what happens is that then people start hearing just negativity around, let's say, for instance, right now it's the Biden-Harris administration, but they're the ones who, and I say them as a placeholder, right? Anyone who's putting the agenda together and actually has a policy and a plan to help us out directly as the American citizen, we have to laud that. We have to applaud that, right? And they don't put any policies forward. They run on fear. They run on zero-sum policies, right? That say they're coming to take your job. They coming to, you know what I'm saying? They're coming to get you in the suburbs, right? They come on, it's fear-mongering, it's hatred, it's xenophobia, it's racism, it's transphobia. It's all the isms packaged in a box, right? And so misinformation is the worst thing that's happening, because the more they capitalize on that, the more voter suppression that happens, the more voter apathy happens. People don't go out to vote. And so they win. And then they get to continue their regressive policy agenda, which is go back to make America great again. When was America great? I'll leave y'all with that. You know what I'm saying?
It was never great for us.
You're not lying.
The system was shaped to oppress us. And I think about like how you see we are literally centuries of results of what colonialism did to us, just anything like that, and just seeing the passive aggressive natures that we have in society, and like you said, all the phobias that's caused, it's ridiculous. And like how do you stop misinformation? It's really hard. Who owns the facts? Who's technically 100% correct? It's like almost the necessary evil. Like, do you hear about recently? I don't really like to talk about other podcasts like that, but that Earn Your Leisure, like those guys got in trouble with DJ Envy. So basically, they were giving out some misinformation on Earning Your Leisure. I think it was about the either real estate. It was about real estate, and they were on the Breakfast Club talking about it. And for whatever reason, it just, I don't know. It's just sad because when you said misinformation, I just thought about how that literally was just a thing like a month ago.
Yeah, and still is it, and like still largely is a thing, right? Like the fact that like, and again, I don't know how well versed your audience is in terms of politics, but like let's just introduce it, right? Like you have the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, who just got removed literally today on a historic vote, literally trying to get the Democrats to help his ass out because the Republicans couldn't get together to vote for a measure to stop the government from shutting down. So he couldn't get the Republicans to vote. They had the majority. They could have passed it with their simple majority, like their majority in terms of all their votes. They couldn't get it together. So then he had to go across the aisle, work with the Democrats, got the Democrats to vote and bail his ass out, and was like, okay, we'll help you out here, but then you got to help us out. That's what happens in politics, right? Then he goes and backstabs, goes on CBS on the next show and says it was the Democrats' fault. They're the reasons why the government was going to shut down. Hakeem Jeffries, who's the Democrat minority leader, said, fuck you, bet you wanted to say some bullshit. Let's go ahead and turn this shit around and let's vote with your party who wants to get you the fuck up out of here and fire you as the majority leader of the House and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. So they got nobody but themselves to thank. And, again, they have nobody but themselves to thank. And to be honest with you, he could have saved his job. All he had to do was literally shut the fuck up. I mean, that it's as simple as that. The bottom line is, if the Democrats were not against you, okay, if you didn't go on Face the Nation on CBS and talk all of this shit and try to, again, do exactly what the Republicans do every single moment of the day, which is try to accuse the other side of exactly what they do, right? Every accusation is a confession. That's how I look at it. Every single time they accuse Democrats of doing something, it's really them confessing. So if he would have just shut the hell up, Hakeem Jeffries would have had no impetus, no motivation to get his caucus, all the Democrats, to vote with Republicans to get him out. So at the end of the day, this is why he's found himself in the place that he is now. I was just literally, as we're talking, Kevin McCarthy was doing a press conference where he was just basically saying, oh, I don't consider this a failure at all. Again, trying to spin it all. I think this was something that was great. I mean, if you look at it, you have to think about the fact that we accomplished so much under the Trump administration. They're a complete failure as a party. They don't know how to govern. They have no leadership. They have no plan, and they don't know how to execute anything.
So what put Kevin McCarthy in this hot seat anyway? Where does the story start?
Well, Kevin McCarthy, I mean, that's a very loaded question, because at the end of the day, you got to think about the factions of the Republican Party that were created, and maybe if not created, definitely accentuated by the fact that Donald Trump created this new wing of MAGA Republicans, right? These people who were emboldened, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz. You have these people who took it to the extreme. Trump was able to embolden people because he was able to talk in a language and in a way that wasn't politically correct to embolden the people who support him. And it was with that vitriolic messaging that he consistently spewed on the cable news networks that covered him 24/7, okay, that allowed other people to be like, okay, well, if he's doing it and he's the president of the United States, then I can do it as well, right? That's why you had Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about these quote unquote Jewish space lasers that, like, obviously anti-Semitic as fuck, right? And got away with it. You have this man who's literally saying that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue in New York and still not lose any supporters, right? The most outrageous shit, grabbing women by the pussy, pausing for emphasis, and still won. Do you hear the words? So going back to Kevin McCarthy and how he found himself there, he made his bed with the devil and allowed this wing of the party to take over and to make concessions to them when they should have been nipped in the bud. When Trump was in office, Republicans who are quote unquote establishment Republicans who care about their political party, the old guard, the old GOP, they could have convicted his ass and it would have been done. He wouldn't have had to run anymore. But because they allowed him, this falls on the heads of all the Republicans, because they allowed him to run amok. And specifically Kevin McCarthy allowed these people to run amok, had no leadership. He found himself in a place where the Matt Gaetz of the world felt emboldened enough that for the first time in history could put a motion forward to have the House Speaker of the House be vacated. That's how he got into the place that he's in now. Again, it's just lack of leadership, lack of skills, and everybody just wants to be, the top guy. But you can't be the top person if you don't have the necessary political acumen to do that job. You just can't.
I don't know if you could say that. Nepotism is a stronghold in America and other countries. So nepotism will get you further than any skill, talent, sadly, that you may ever have. And like the talented ones always get stolen from, or if not talent, political leaders, it's always getting bought, they're always getting bought out and being told what to say. So
how do you put that into this context?
I don't know.
Oh.
No, you just ate me up.
I'm just,
Hold on, let me go back. What was the question? What was the statement? Hold on. What? I don't know. Moving on. You just ate me up. I got back together. I'm not sure.
Okay, so I would ask a question. From your perspective, what do you think needs to be done for us as people to truly progress in this world? And when I say progress, in terms of everyone like not having to worry about like the financial parts, inflation, just for us all to kind of be in a better situation to where people really aren't in survival mode financially.
Can you rephrase the question?
Okay, so like, what do you think needs to be done so everyone in the world does not have to worry about sort of the financial stability?
That's on my own podcast.
Wait.
That's on my own.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm just asking clarifying questions. Like
Hey, damn. I mean,
I love it. No, but this is important to be authentic, like, because we don't. Okay, so to clarify my question is basically
let's go.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna try and nip it down a little bit. So what I'm trying to ask is, from your perspective, what do you think? Kelly, why did you hide your camera? Okay, sorry. Anyways, what do you think needs to be done in general for us as a whole, as a society, to truly progress in the world so we're not really living in the day-to-day basis of survival mode? If that I don't know how that makes sense.
That's a really good question. And we as people who are in the political content creating space consistently kind of contend with that question, right? And I think we've come to the place where we've gotten a couple of answers. I don't think it's all the answers, and I wouldn't say that I have all the answers, but I think that there are certain things that we need to do as a society in order to move to the place that we want to move. First and foremost, I think, I've said this before, the answer to solving all of our problems, and it's simple, but it's also hard. The answer to solving all of our problems is if we have a 100% actively engaged and civically informed electorate. What that means is if 100% of all the eligible people that are in this country who can vote, actually do go out and vote, we hold everybody's feet to the fire, because now people can't bullshit us, right? We are able to be making informed decisions. We can put in politicians who are going to, and again, we say politicians, but put in leaders who can actually put our policy, that we actually need forward and pass it. And there's no reason why. And again, I think a lot of the reason why is because a lot of people don't know about civics. A lot of people don't know how government actually functions. A lot of people don't know the fact that they're like, okay, well, I vote every 4 years. We have the president of the United States. And if shit doesn't get done, then it's the president of the United States' fault. And no, that's not true, right? We need to be able to understand that Congress is made up of two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and that we need 60 votes in the Senate, and we need 2/3 majority vote in the House in order to get things passed. Once we get that, it goes to the president's desk. The president then signs off on it and or vetoes. So we need all three. We need a House, a Senate, and a president who's going to be all in alignment. And again, we need to vote. We need to be able to vote. Right. So, that gets us everything we want. Voting expansion and access, that gets us breaking down big pharma, if that's something that you wanted to talk about, right? Lifting minimum wage to actually be a livable wage. You name it, we can get there, but we need people to get out there and vote.
Okay, so when how people will say like, my vote doesn't even matter anyways. Like, what is your opinion on that? Like when people are just saying like, well, it's rigged, like that the elections and votes are like rigged. Like, what's your opinion on that? Do you think
White
that they're rigged at all?
white supremacy has done a good job of making us feel that every time we talk about anything racist or any ism, that we are speaking about conspiracy theories, right? And the reason why, and how I connect that to when you're talking about voting is that they have done the same thing with making us feel that our voice doesn't matter and that our vote doesn't matter. If you look at majorly, if you look at every single general election for a president of the United States, and you look at the popular vote, we're not talking about the electoral college, we're looking at the popular vote. Democrats, liberal, progressive-minded candidates always win the vote, the popular vote, right? If you look at it, Democrats always have more votes in counting, right, than Republicans. The problem is that the electoral college, we need to win certain states in order to get to that threshold to win the presidency. But we have people, vast majorities of this country, that think like us, right? That don't care who uses what bathroom, who want more money in their pockets, who are not necessarily billionaires, but don't want to pay as high tax, that want healthcare, that want high levels of investments in education, that don't want militarized police, that don't want. There's a lot of things that, if you look at it, there's people who caucus with liberal-minded people. And so, this whole thing that our votes don't matter. I mean, I can point to you in the direction of Lauren Boebert, for instance. She won her election. She's for people who, I don't know, again, just putting it out there for your viewers.
Absolutely.
She is a Republican in the House of Representatives for Colorado. She was in the news not too long ago. I did a video on her, and that shit went viral for being the same person who talks about LGBT and drag queens, that they are the ones grooming children. But she was literally the one with her date at a Beetlejuice show in Colorado. Mind you, Beetlejuice is a show that is encouraged for kids 10 and up. And there were kids in the theater because there was footage that came out getting her titties grabbed on and over here jerking the guy off. Her date, who, by the way, isn't her husband. She's still married, separated, but not divorced, on a date, giving a good old handy J and getting her titties cocked on. And you talking about drag queens being dangerous and grooming kids, but you the one out here doing all of this shit in front of kids? So this lady won by 500 votes. She almost lost. She won by her fucking skin of her teeth. And so what I'm saying is there's so many different examples that we can point to demonstrate the fact that people have lost by smaller majorities and won by, even smaller majorities. So the vote matters, but they do a good job of making us feel like it, because that creates voter apathy, that creates voter suppression. And if you feel like your vote is not going to matter, why would you vote? And that hurts our side and helps their side.
Oh, can you explain why don't we just do this like through social media, voting through social media? Why can't it be a process made like much easier? Why do you think it's still grassroots in 2023? Like, why?
Well, part of it is security, election security, right? Trump wanted to say this whole crusade about how, the elections were rigged and that the election was stolen and that there was massive fraud. Literally, his attorney general of the United States, Bill Barr, said that there was no evidence. That's been corroborated multiple times over. You had Dominion, which was the voting machine, and Smartmatic, which was also another voting machine kind of like organization company that ran these machines, that sued Fox. That's why Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News and is now on Twitter doing a damn Twitter show for Elon Musk, because he was out there espousing election fraud, election shit lies, and it wasn't true. And Fox News had to pay $787.5 million. And not only that, but the fact that he had to then go to court, and the way that he defended it, and again, they bank on people not knowing this and not looking beyond the headline. Easy. He went to court and his lawyer said, of course, we wouldn't think that anybody would take our show seriously because we do entertainment. We don't do news. but you're on Fox News doing a primetime television show that is the #1 rated show on Fox News. So when you have millions of people watching your show, you better be damn right that you come with the fucking facts. But whatever. They lost that case. Fox News had to pay close to $1 billion. That's only for one of them, not only for the second one that's still in litigation. But the reality of it is, like, we just have to be more informed about all the shit that goes on, right? And so when it comes down to this question of election security, elections are largely secure because we're able to do the ballots. And it sometimes there is some problems with it, right? Sometimes the counter and they have to recount and they have to do this. And sometimes we're not going to know till days later after the election, which allows Republicans to be like, well, they're counting more ballots than actually was. And it's not, that's bullshit too. We know that it's going to take a long time to count all those ballots because you have hundreds of millions of people that are voting during early election and also the election day. And so largely is for security. Because just imagine if we did everything online, which would be great. But imagine if somebody then hacked it.
Yeah.
That'd be some bullshit right there, right? Particularly when you have all this, not conspiracy, you have Russians who were meddling with our elections through misinformation, disinformation, creating stock images of Black people online and saying, well, the Democrats don't vote for or don't do anything for me. Like, you have all of this shit going on, creating more division amongst, the parties. And so I think that I want to be in a place where we can say that we are, our elections should be open access and expand all that. But even with that, like, we're trying to pass voting access legislation that would grant automatically anybody who turns 18 and over would be automatically registered to vote. Where we standardize at a federal level, being able to send ballots to people's homes so they don't have to request it online or have to do some additional hoops and hurdles just to vote. And that for us, that makes it easier for us. That's why we win. Largely, that's why we were able to win in 2020, because we had large access to voting because of the pandemic. And then they wanted to strip all that back in all those Republican states. Gee, I wonder why.
So it's just a double-edged sword. You really don't know, like, which they still get tampered with when you do go deal with them anyway. So whether it gets hacked or
yeah, it's a lot of stuff in the world that needs to be fixed for sure. It's just like, how do you get a group of people to come together and say, hey, how do we stop suffering? How do we stop suffering? How do we stop fucking people? It sucks. And I feel like every day we just show up and just do our best and hope for the best, but do our best to take action. I don't know.
So what are your thoughts on Twitter? Ever since it's changed over, do you still take it seriously? Are you over it?
Twitter was my stomping grounds. Twitter was where I created a lot of my platform. Twitter was where I got my following in terms of my supporters, and I will always love that platform for what it was. But then once Elon Musk got it, I mean, I was in talk like back before Elon Musk even bought it. Like, I was in talks with people from Twitter to make my Twitter Spaces show an actual show that I got paid for, like, full time. And Elon Musk got it, and then all that shit fucked up. But I will say currently, like, I mean, I did a video not too long ago on exposing the Shade Room and how they sow division and how Republican political operatives have taken advantage of it being, quote unquote, the Black newsroom. Y'all can go watch that video on my Instagram page, Mentally Divine Official. But the thing about it was that video went 750,000 views on Twitter, right? And it got pretty good numbers on TikTok. Got like 50,000. But what I'm saying is that these platforms get me different access to different audiences. People who are not on TikTok are on Twitter, and people who are not on Twitter or TikTok are on Instagram. So whenever I make my videos, my content, I post them on all platforms, because my entire point is to make sure that I'm getting my content to everyone, right? So I say all that to say that, for Twitter, I think if he does exactly what he said he was going to do not too long ago, which was charge everybody just for being on the platform, I think it's dead. I think it's dead on arrival. I think all the content creators that are sexual content creators who are really largely the ones who are making that shit flow right now. Because to be honest with you, a lot of people go on to Twitter because they're looking for the sexual content creators. It is what it is. But, you know, the minute that you got to make them pay while also having to do, they gonna leave, right? They gonna leave. And I know for me personally, my ass is gonna leave too. So, and not because of that, but because of the fact that I'm not paying you, you know, just to be on your platform. Largely the reason why you exist as an organization for social media is because we create content on your platform. We keep consumers, we keep people who view content on your platform. If we don't make content, why the fuck are the people going to be there for?
Right.
So, yeah.
Are you thinking about going to start trying your YouTube? Are you going to, have you heard of Spill?
I have heard of Spill. I'm on Spill.
What do you think?
It's not given. It's not given. I think that's also dead. I think Threads is also dead. If I move off of Twitter, I'm moving exclusively to Instagram and TikTok. I am going to start trying to get into the YouTube algorithm. Because I mean, I've cracked all the other algorithms except for YouTube, and I think YouTube is the hardest one, but that's where the old money is. I mean, it just is what it is. For the content creator perspective, as someone who monetizes content, I think it's super important that I'm consistently thinking about where the fuck the money at. Right. What Dorelli Rail said in that song, where the money reside. Yeah. So we gotta be, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm sure y'all are thinking about these things in the same vein, being content creators. Like this is, we do this for the people, but you know, and not everybody has a full-time job. I'm thank God I'm able to have that, but at the same time, I want to be able to get to a place where I don't have to do two jobs, because this is a full-time job. I don't care what anybody says. Being a one-person team, your own videographer, editor, producer, director, showrunner, researcher. I mean, like, this is a lot of fucking shit. A lot of people think it's just you turn on your camera and you go. Now, no, and y'all know this. I'm saying for the viewers. So I always say this on my platform as well. Like, it's difficult, it's hard, but I think it's a road that I want to go on. So TikTok and Instagram is where I'm at with it if Twitter starts doing some bullshit.
Yeah. Awesome. So no, I feel like we talked about like a good bit of current topics, the future, past, present, everything.